specifics of that. My second question was this, this is a very interesting idea of taxing when you denotify land, you tax. Now, of course, you know the problem there. There was recently a news item in my state, in Maharashtra, where the Commissioner of Pune declared in his asset return an income of 90 crores last year, which came almost exclusively from first denotifying land and then buying land before he denotified it. The name is known, it's in the press. So there are political payoffs at this time from these rates. And what you're proposing is a tax to capture them. So, and you were very sensitive to the political constraints. So I'd like your view on whether you believe that that is a constraint that can be overcome, and if so, how?
Yeah. So on the first question, my hypothesis has been that if in the 12th plan the battle to allocate more funding to JNURM had been diverted to creating a pocket for urbanizing infrastructure built through the Rural Development Ministry, we may have actually ended up with more money than we have ended up for urbanization in India. That's the optics of it. So I know that there is a conversation for some time going on in the Rural Development Ministry about urban spaces, and there are all kinds of schemes that have been contemplated. And it appeared to me that it was much higher likelihood to slip that in to the total budget because it carries the right political optics. But I'm not an insider, so I don't know whether that is entirely feasible or not. So that's on that. But one point I wanted to make was the Rural Development Ministry does spend a lot of money, has spent a lot of money very successfully and very effectively on rural road development. So we could contemplate the next generation of rural road development plans that makes the link between land use, infrastructure planning, and financing. So we should apply our minds to it. There's already a budget. Can we use it more effectively to act as a catalyst for future financing around rural roads, which have been, it's been a terrific, very effective program. On the second one, yeah, it's a very tricky one. I would like to believe now, I'm at once a cynic and an optimist and an idealist. I would like to believe that what you are describing is more is a more administratively manageable problem than, for example, getting a mayor for Mumbai, right? So I would put that in the same class as trying to improve the efficacy of tax administration. So it's a different class of problem which perhaps we have a better chance of attacking.
Rajiv, I agree with your second assessment. On the first one, I have a few reservations. Essentially, I think when we talk about urban development, planning for urbanization, we shouldn't be looking at it only as infrastructure development. Infrastructure development is only one part of it. Much more than that is when we develop infrastructure, mechanism for operation and maintenance, some institutional reforms which allows us to use this for better delivery. Now the problem that what Rajiv is referring to is the fact that we discussed this morning also, that as these urban areas expand and there are sort of fringes around towns which are virtually sort of crying for urban infrastructure. They don't have a statutory government which can articulate those demands and put in urban infrastructure which is not only looking at the needs of that fringe, but connects it to the area beyond, because there will be more land coming in, more notification, more connectivity, the whole metropolitan thing that we are talking about. Now, if we were to look at it purely as the arithmetic of how much money was available to the Ministry of Urban Development and how much to the Ministry of Rural Development, and let's lay our hands on some money from the rural development and build infrastructure in this new area as we are expanding, I think that would be really looking at bits and pieces. And especially at this stage when the structural transformation is going to be so rapid, where I agree with you is when you say that between rural areas and the smallest towns, you need some roads for connectivity. That's the only area where I can see you could use that money well, but then it has to be done in the context of regional planning. You know, because unless you have a metropolitan framework or regional rural-urban linkage program, it should not be seen as the pot that's lying there. Let's just dip our hand in it and get some infrastructure in the. I'm sure you didn't mean that, but I want clarification.
I'm making purely a tactical point about how to get more resources allocated effectively for urbanization, but taking account of the politics of the situation. My hypothesis in response to your concern would be that for the same reason, it would be easier to get the collaboration of the receiving state government to actually create a regional planning framework, to deploy those funds more systematically in an institutional framework that makes sense, then rather, otherwise you just elicit a knee-jerk political reaction. Urbanization for the cities, we don't want to give money.
Okay, Sanjay?
Yeah. Now, just to add to Isha's point, I think there is a good example. Bangalore's been attempting this city cluster approach. So if you look at metropolitan Bangalore, it has about 7 municipalities within a 50-mile radius, 70-kilometer radius. And people commute between the smaller municipalities to the bigger city. So in spite of the MPC not functioning, there is an intent and a need to look at a much more kind of broader approach of how the entire region is growing. So one of the things that they are doing is quite interesting. The ADB funded project that KUIDFC is again working on. They're actually developing an economic development strategy for the region before they actually develop the infrastructure provision required to sustain the economic character. So they're going about this whole economic geography approach of establishing what are the economic characteristics of each of the smaller municipalities, invest in 4 types of infrastructure: knowledge infrastructure, financial infrastructure, social infrastructure, and then the physical infrastructure. So in some ways, the intangible aspects are looked at first before you actually bring in some of the tangible aspects of roads and sewer systems and electricity, power supply and water. So this is quite an interesting model, but what it does is it in some ways sets the tone for looking at economic development in conjunction with land use planning, because otherwise it's only a land use planning exercise. There is no emphasis on the economics of growth and the economies at scale. So this is probably a good example that we should look at.
I think we had, okay. Ajit?
Hi, I'm Tanaji Chakravarti. I'm an urban economist. I teach at the School of Planning. Just to give perspective on Dr. Ahluwalia's point, I think the agenda for this rural-urban transition zone is going to become a very big problem in the coming years. I was at a review yesterday for the corridor between Haridwar, Dehradun, Rishikesh. And the problems would be laid out probably 5 years ahead of any solution being made, because these are vast tracts of land, 100 acres, which are being plotted and being sold to multiple owners. Units as small as 50 square yards, 60 square yards, maybe even, LIG, MIG, all of that. And all of these areas are not strictly peri-urban, not strictly rural, but they are complete disaster zones and with very little provision for infrastructure. So I completely endorse what Dr. Ahluwalia is saying in terms of this being the new frontier of urban infrastructure damage, as it were, or shortage.
I think we had a very long day, and I thank all the speakers and ICLEAR for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you all. I must say this has been quite a fascinating day, and we at ICRIA certainly have learnt a great deal from all these interactions. Thank you, Roy and Johannes, for giving us this opportunity. And thank you, all of you speakers, discussants, participants, for pitching in and generating this stimulating dialogue. We will actually, we always do, we prepare a summary of what transpired, and that's put on our website. We'll send you a link when we do that. Thank you. Thanks. I must say, Cyrus, where is Cyrus? Cyrus, stand up and take an applause. And Tanushri, you helped him, you too. All the ICRIA team. Nice meeting you. You know, our ambassador